Hello everyone, today I'm on the back deck and I need to do something I've been putting off as I entered into my garden slump, and that is to harvest my celosia, which I've been calling Celosia until Eric and Christopher were here and I learned how to correctly pronounce it. I also called impatiens for far too long, so we're all here to learn together, but basically I'm growing celosia for the first time. I got some of the Floret seeds. The ones that I'm growing are called vintage rose. I have two plants out here on the back deck, and the reason I wanted to grow them is because they're pretty, but I love dried flowers. Dry flowers, I use them to decorate a Christmas tree up here that I will obviously share with you my Christmas tree for this year, and then I use them afterwards to make wreaths, bouquets, whatever else I might want to do. But I absolutely love dried flowers, and I know these are one of the great ones to dry. We're also going to save some seeds because when Christopher and Eric were here, Christopher showed me how easy it was to harvest these seeds, and because they are Floret, they were a little bit more expensive for the quality. So if you can save your seeds, that's perfect. And I'm not a huge seed saver just because it takes me so long to go through a pack of seeds. I grow a few plants, that's all I can really fit in my garden, so I can have a pack last me for years. So I don't usually save a lot of the seeds, but I'm going to try to start saving some more. On that, I often give away a lot of the seeds that I dry. So especially if you live in Chicago, but even if you don't, because sometimes I'll just mail them, I will post on Instagram if anyone wants some extra seeds that I have, especially because, again, I don't have a lot of space and there are so many seeds that I can harvest from these plants. But I put it on Instagram because there's not a really easy way on YouTube to message people back and forth and get your information. So if you want to be on the lookout for notifications on Instagram stories when I am going to have extra seeds, make sure to follow there, Chicago Gardener, same as it is here. But with that, let me take you up close to the celosia that we're going to harvest from. We'll harvest, I'll show you the seed saving, and I will show you how I dry the flowers. I have two celosias growing in this border, and this is actually a plant that was on my not sure if I will grow next year list, but I am leaning more towards it now, just not in this border, because one plant is taking up almost the entire bed, and I'm thinking that's possibly why some of the things I planted next to it struggled. So I am going to grow these next year, just probably in their own separate container. But so they're both vintage rose, but I also feel like they grew a little bit differently. For example, this one here seems to have more flowers that are shorter, whereas the other one, well, the bees love them no matter what they look like, but the other one over here has fewer but longer flowers. So I don't know what the difference is in the growth habit one versus the other, but that's just one of the things that I have noticed. I'm going to harvest off of both of these today, and I'm probably going to harvest more than I would if it was the middle of the season. So celosia are cut and come again, so you can continue to harvest. They'll continue to produce blooms, but since we are close to the end of the season and these beds need to be emptied out for bulbs, which I'll be planting in just a few weeks, which I can't believe we're here already, but I'm going to harvest more off of this than I would at a normal time during this, again, the middle of the season. I also need to leave some for all of the bumblebees. It makes me so happy. I don't know if you know this, but bumblebees are native and honeybees are not. So when I see a plant that the bumblebees really love, it makes me extra happy, and I know that I have to grow it again. Also, because I've been in a garden slump, I'm not really harvesting these at the time you should if you are going to put them in bouquets or dry them, because you really should harvest them before they go to seed, and a lot of these have gone to seed, but some of these are still pretty good. I want to try to find, here's a good example of one that's gone to seed. So if you see those tiny black dots all along there, to me they kind of look like budworm poop, and I have a lot of issues with budworms, but those are the seeds, and you know that they're mature if they very easily fall off when you shake the bloom a little bit. So I'm going to harvest some of these specifically for the seeds. Any that haven't gone to seed, those will just be used to dry. Again, this is the vintage rose, and I have a photo on Instagram, but the blossoms on this are the exact same color as a lot of the sunsets. So I really do love this one back here. So this has been moved from my uncertain if I will grow again list to my definitely will grow again list. So I'm just gonna come in here and start harvesting. Hello. So nothing really special here. I have my pruners and I'm just going to go in and I'm probably going to take it, like I said, a little bit further back than I would if we were still in the middle of the growing season. I want some longer stems and I'm going to take off more than I normally would. And I'm going to put 2 piles, one of the flowers that have the seeds on them and ones that don't have any seeds yet, just so I can keep them a bit organized. These have seeds, so I'm going to put them here. I don't know if the pigeons would eat the seeds off of this, so keeping an eye on you guys. There's another good one. Oh, good. Another cucumber beetle. So glad to have you in the garden. This is another good one with seeds on it. Maybe a couple more off the back. This one also has a lot of seeds. Seed will go there. Oh yeah, I definitely waited way too long to harvest some of these, but they'll still work. This one has taken on a cool shape. I'll show you what they look like up close in just a second. A couple more with seeds on them. I'm going to have way more seeds than I can ever use. All right, I think that's enough from that one. And you know what I'm thinking? Just because it does look like they have different growth habits, I might actually keep the piles of each separate, especially for the seeds, just so I know which plant and which growth habit the seeds came from. I think I will do that. So I need to make a little bit more space. Now we harvest over here and try not, oh, the bees are all over. I feel bad taking some away, but you guys do have a ton, so I guess I don't feel too bad. This branch I think is already broken, so let's just take all of you. And this might be good enough for today. Now, since I am not a Celosia expert, as you can probably tell from the fact that I didn't know how to pronounce it correctly, but these are the differences in the plumes from the 2 plants. Actually, these look more similar. Well, I'll show you these 2 first. I mean, I only got 1 seed packet of any of the Celosia, so it's not like I could have mixed up 2 packets of seeds, but do they look way too different? Here, let me grab another one, maybe I'll grab a few examples so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Maybe they don't look that different to you, and I am just crazy, but let me hold up the 2 bunches. So this, see now, don't they look very different now? So this is one bunch from the one that was like on my left, and this is a bunch from the one that was on my right. They just seem like very different plants. So let me know. Also, the stem color seems to be slightly different, although again, as I like grab one, then they don't look so different, but I don't know. This stem seems a little darker. Let me know your thoughts on if you think these are, in fact, both the same variety or not, but I am still gonna keep the seeds separate. Also, I had some that turned a fun shape, which I think is really cool. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to strip the leaves off of these first, which might be a pigeon incoming, which is pretty easy. You just kind of grab on the stem and pull down. I think if you are using these in bouquets, I think pulling the leaves helps to keep the flowers longer because then the water's not being used by the leaves. I might have just made that up, but I feel like I read that somewhere. I remove the leaves because when I'm saving these to dry, I just want mostly the flowers and long stems. I don't want dried leaves on it as well. And while the flowers dry pretty similarly to how they look, the leaves don't. It just looks like a stem covered in dead leaves. So I'm gonna do that really fast. Again, super easy process, which I feel like will be boring to watch me do a lot of times in a row. So just like that, super easy. And then I'm gonna toss these in the composter. And then we'll move on to showing you how I save the seeds. So that's s'more. It seems to be the closest friends with Shadow, which is good because I thought Shadow was more like a loner pigeon. and then I've seen these two hanging out with each other, so that makes me a little bit happier. I don't know how to tell which pigeon is a boy or a girl, but this one is smaller than Shadow, so I'm assuming that that one is a girl and Shadow is a boy. Shadow also gets in fights and she doesn't, so I feel like that might be a sign as well. So there are 5 that I've named, and I think for the most part I can correctly identify those, like if I see them even on their own. Sometimes though I do get a little confused with which pigeon is which if I don't see them next to the other pigeons, but it has been kind of nice. I mean, I've always had pigeons up here. There were some that I think kind of not, they didn't nest, but they would often hang out on, what's it called? The gutter, the gutter on our house. And I mean, that's been years. I don't know if it's been these same ones or not, but they never really cared about me in the garden. Hello. Until this year. Although when I do make any sort of movements, they still get scared because they don't completely trust me, but I found that interesting. But it has been kind of nice to have little outdoor pets. Our cats want to eat them, which is why our cats, well, one of the reasons our cats don't go outdoors. But yeah, it's just been kind of nice. I did learn, I know I said I wasn't going to show you this and now I'm telling you all the stuff I know about pigeons, but I did learn, unfortunately, that hawks do prey on them, because I noticed that every time a hawk would fly by, they would kind of get up and fly all together off very quickly. One time I was out here and Shadow was on that ledge, and all of a sudden I felt what I thought was a large pigeon flying over me. It was a hawk. It was like a foot above my head trying to get Shadow. He flew away, and then I also saw, so I'm just distracted by the birds, I also saw a bunch of other pigeons from other locations swarm to where Shadow had flown off to. And with some Googling, I also found that when a pigeon is in trouble, the other pigeons will go to it so that they can form a little group and hopefully keep the predator away. So I thought that was good. Other fun pigeon facts I've learned is that they are cleaner than you'd think. I still don't touch them. Well, one, I don't think they want me to, but two, I don't know where they've been, but I did learn that they actually like to be relatively clean. Like they love taking baths. So I've been leaving out, I have a saucer of water back here. I need to get one for the front because they like taking as many baths as they can. So I don't know, it's been fun. I never expected to have like pigeons hanging out with me in the garden, and they haven't bothered anything in my garden. I know they eat sunflower seeds, so maybe they've eaten some of those. I haven't seen them in action. I've seen finches eat some seed. I've seen cardinals, as I showed, I think in a recent, was it the tour? I think it was the tour of the front deck garden. But they have never bothered anything in my garden, which is nice. I'm still like nervous that's going to try to fly on me one day. They do leave a little bit of poop around, which I either brush off with a broom or I hose it down. But I don't know if it's because they don't like hang out here as much. So I don't think this is their home base, but they will hang out when I'm here. But I think they actually live on my neighbor's deck, which doesn't have the actual decking on it, so they don't use it. So no one's ever out there. I think that's where they congregate together most of the time. That's where most of their poop is. So I feel kind of lucky that they haven't left a bunch of their poop over here. All right, I have one bundle here of the kind of shorter Celosia. The ones I'm going to save the seeds on, maybe I'll leave the leaves on these so that I remember these are the ones that I need to get the seeds out of. And then we'll go ahead and do this other bundle while I tell you more things I've learned about pigeons. I've started asking, I have the Google, I don't know, what are the Google things called? It's not Alexa, that's Amazon, but I have the Google things that tell you things around the house, and I have asked them to tell me pigeon facts. And one of the facts they told me was that in, I think it was 1999, scientists were able to train pigeons to distinguish between the paintings of Monet and Picasso. So I was like, I mean, that's better than I can do. Well, maybe I could be able to tell the difference, but still, like, good for them. I don't think that one can, but whichever ones they train could. And I know that from, again, the brief history I've learned over these last few weeks, that they're not wild, they're feral. Is that right? Or they're not feral, they're wild. Yeah. One of those means that something has always been wild and not under domesticity. Again, saying things that I'm not sure if I'm saying in the exact same way, but pigeons were domesticated by humans and then just kind of left out on their own. So I guess, is that feral? I don't know. I'm trying to remember the difference between the two. So they I think they are used to humans and they used to have bonds with humans. I feel like these have bonded with me. My cats want to bond with them. I will not let them do that. All right, so that was pretty easy. Emptied out that one. Let me hold up the two bunches. Don't they, I mean, they feel like they really do look like flowers from two different varieties, but the color on them is absolutely stunning. Oh, okay, just making sure there's no hawk. But I love these colors. And again, I think either I already put in the picture or I'll put it in here of these with the sunset in the background. And it was just like the most beautiful planting combination with the sunset I've ever seen. So we are going to dry these inside in just a second. Let me put the leaves in the composter and then I will walk through the very, very simple seed saving process. So this is my box of some celosia that I cut maybe just under a week ago that I left to dry in this box. So from the instructions that I think were on Floret's website, you want to let them dry before you try to harvest the seeds. I think they said a week, so this is just under a week. And then you just gently shake them, and any of the seeds that fall out are mature seeds that you can plant. Now there are already seeds in there. I have not shaken these. That's just what's fallen off already. So let's just give it a little shake. See how easy this is? I mean, seed saving in general is easy, but it's like, oh, you just shake these and that's it. I feel like that is pretty good. And these I took off of the plant that has the longer plumes on it. So what I'm going to do is, since seeds will fall off as they're just sitting around drying, I'm going to put these from the same plant in this box to dry. I will get a different box for the other ones. That way there's something that it's sitting in to catch the seeds. If I were just to hang these where I hang the rest of my flowers that you'll see in just a second, all the seeds would fall on the floor. So this way they stay contained in the box. And then in about a week, I'll shake these out and I will put all of the seeds into envelopes. Or maybe I'll put them in a Ziploc bag right now and then put them in the smaller envelopes when I mail them out or give them away. So that is how you save the seeds. All right, I am inside now and here is what's happening on this table. This is from one plant of the celosia to dry. That's the other bunch to dry. This is the one in the box I just showed you. The shorter ones I just set on that piece of paper so that when the black seeds fall out, I can find them and then put them into a bag. And then I also did harvest some status that I need to hang to dry as well. So I'm not doing anything else with the seeds. So let's move that out of the way. We will put that box there. We need this. Slide these over. Let me see if any seeds have fallen out already. Just a couple, but we'll keep letting those dry. And then these are the 4 bunches that I need to twine together and hang. So I got this twine holder just on Amazon, and I've had at least 3 people, which I feel like is a lot, ask me if this was like a vintage find or from an antique store, and no, it's just from Amazon, but it looks pretty. And I feel like it makes it really easy to use the twine because you just go like this and then you do a snip and you have your piece of twine. So that way I feel like I don't need 3 hands. I can do it all with 2 hands. And now this is where we don't get technical at all. I just kind of found what has worked for me over the years. But actually, let me take you closer so you can see how I tie these. So what I found works because as flowers dry, the stems, well, the whole plant will get a little bit smaller. So I know a lot of people use rubber bands because those will kind of be a little bit more flexible and shrink as the flowers shrink. But this way, I've found has kept them together even after they dried. So basically, I tie once like that, very tight, and then I flip it over, squeeze that back down, and then I do the same thing there, and then I flip it back, and the same thing there. And I could tie these in a knot, but for me it's just easier to untie them like this. But then I have my bundle. Now I'm gonna bundle up the other three. And I will say, if you wanna use your dried flowers professionally, I'm probably not the person to go to for advice on how to dry flowers to make them look their best. Since I'm just using them for like me or my friends, I know some people will spray them with, is it hairspray or something else to kind of help maintain the color. They'll probably hang them not in as large of bunches as I hang mine. But again, since I'm not using these in any sort of professional capacity, no one's paying me for these, so they are getting what they get. I am probably, again, not the person to go to as far as like how to best dry flowers, but this is what I do. And I think it works well for my needs. So now I have 2 bundles there. Yeah, that should be good. So now that all these are tied up, I will show you where I dry them, which I really like. And I think it's one of the best ideas I've ever had, which maybe says a lot about the quality of ideas I've ever had. But let me show you. I think it looks really pretty. So this is my wall of dried flowers. I really, really love how this looks. And I'm gonna talk from over here so that you can continue to stare at it. Well, in the past, I have dried flowers, but just kind of stuck them in random places. For example, one year I put hooks in like the corner of these ceilings and hung them. And it looked pretty, but it was difficult to get them on and off. I didn't want to have to get on a ladder. So then when we redid this room and painted it and everything, we talked about just using curtain rods. So these are curtain rods from Amazon. I think they look pretty. Even when they're empty, I think they look pretty, which that was the one thing I was concerned about. But I like to add my dried flowers here. It's like it's a piece of art on the wall, even though it's just dried flowers and curtain rods. But hey, art can be anything that you want it to be. So it looks really pretty. It's effective, which is great. I did purposely put this in like the most shaded part of the room so there wasn't direct sunlight shining on it. But what else? Let's see, these curtain rods just drilled into the wall. They're 18 inches apart, which I think works really well. We were originally gonna do 4 12 inches apart, but that definitely would not have given me enough room for some of these flowers. So I love how it's turned out. We'll add the status to the bottom, but this one will go nicely here. And then similarly to when I'm actually tying the bunches together, I don't tie these in knots because I am, especially with the herbs, taking them on and off the curtain rods. And again, it's just easier for me at least to not have to cut the twine and just be able to untie the twine. So those are the rows of status. Now for the celosia, let's see where we can fit you. I have 2 bundles. I have some gomphrena here, so maybe I'll scooch you guys over because the celosia takes up a bit more space horizontally than some of these other ones. And I'll scooch you back. Oh, that looks really pretty. I like that. And you'll tie you up. And even though I do have to get on my tiptoes for this, it is better than when I had to climb on a ladder or a chair that I probably shouldn't have been standing on in order to get these to dry. And I would say too, if I was doing this professionally, I probably wouldn't let all these touch each other. Like I would give them a bit more space. But again, just doing this for myself. So that's it. That's everything I was gonna do today with the celosia. So I'm excited. I mean, I don't know. I'm excited that I have a lot more garden tasks because I feel like I have a lot of tasks in the spring, planting everything. There's a lot of tasks in the fall, taking everything down. So it feels good to be doing things in the garden other than just maintenance, trying to keep my plants alive. But I am sad. I'm sad the season is coming to an end and I'm not ready. not ready at all. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.